party's over.
I don't think so.
Take a seat. We would be honored if you would join us.
Yeah, go ahead, take a seat. We're going to tell you something. We're going to tell you what you need to do. I feel like we're not usually so prescriptive, but we have one prescription. You should be reading Star Wars comics, and we're going to tell you how. We're going to lay it out for you. Just be patient, buckle up, sit down, make yourself comfortable. That's what we're doing. It's going to be a blast. After that, there's a lot of Star Wars news we need to discuss. Some of it good, some of it a little on the dark side. It's all good. We're going to have a good time. I can't do it alone. I'm Tyler Bodkins. I've been in this fight since I was 8 years old. With me, he's all the help we got. He's all we need. He's Cameron Porter.
What's up?
Giving you a little bad batch, a little wrecker energy there to start it up. You know,
I'll take it.
I feel like that's where you're at today because we're about to have fun. I know we are. We're going to talk all about, the conclusion of the recent Marvel runs. I know you just finished. I just finished. And maybe a couple other comic things. But then we're going to talk a lot about all the number one issues that are coming up because they're fresh jumping points. Friend of the pod, Ben Gager, posted a comment on YouTube the other day. He was like, where do you suggest that somebody that's new and wanting to get into comics start? And so we're going to do that. And we're also going to, like I said, talk a little bit about some news. But first, let's jump right into comics. So Marvel, quick backstory for listeners, Cameron. You know, Marvel reacquired the license for Star Wars back in 2015. Of course, they had the license way back in the day, back in the 70s, whenever the first film was just coming out. Dark Horse had it for a long while, and in 2015, after Disney bought it, Marvel got the license. They did a 2015 Star Wars and Darth Vader main run, and then in 2020, they relaunched. Instead of being set in between A New Hope and Empire, they've been set between Empire and Return of the Jedi. And that is what has just come to a conclusion after 4 years. And, you know, we've talked about it on the show. 4 years is a long time to explore 1 year of in-canon universe. And there were some great stories and there were some great arcs, and we're going to talk about some of those. And then also there was like, okay, it's been 50 issues and it's been 4 years, and I think that this thing seems like it's ready to tie up.
Yeah.
And now it has, and we're going to discuss that. But yeah, Cameron, talk to me a little bit about your thoughts and your feelings of the, you know, just an overall big picture before we get into new stuff. How did you feel about the full run, the volume 2 of Star Wars, this 2020 volume, and then the latest Darth Vader run that ran concurrent?
I think they accomplished covering a lot of ground in such a short time frame. We get a lot of character development from a lot of the characters that we get to see and enjoy on screen in Empire and Return of the Jedi. I've always said that I always love getting to kind of like peel back and like go what feels like kind of behind the story a little bit.
Right.
And see what's happening in between. Because you're thinking about Empire, you're thinking about Return of the Jedi, and you're reading all this and you're like, oh, this is so crazy because this is all happening in between these two movies. And we talk about like a lot of times when Star Wars explores an area like that, it makes you really excited to watch whatever's next in the timeline again. Yeah. So now that this is concluded, I'm excited to watch Return of the Jedi again soon.
And then go right into Book of Boba Fett and then go right into Mando. And then, I'm just kidding.
But I think they did a really great job. One thing I was thinking about today as I was reading Vader 50 and Star Wars 50 was that they touched every era of Star Wars with this run. Like, we got a ton of flashbacks from the prequels. It ended on this note in at least Star Wars 50 where we're getting this flash forward to Luke and Ben Solo.
Right.
there was a lot that they developed in the run, like some backstory behind Exegol, which we saw a lot of in the sequel
Especially
trilogy.
early in the Darth Vader run.
Yeah.
Talking like the 2020, 21-ish time period. Absolutely.
So for like the Star Wars series itself, it filled in a lot of gaps and like explored a lot of different areas. For the Vader run, it did that as well, but I enjoyed it on a different level of it really like diving deep on the tragedy of Vader as a character and his development and like who he was becoming. And like, you know, when you watch the original trilogy, you see a very surface level Vader,
right?
Because his whole character wasn't even fleshed out all the way.
Yeah, he was definitely a man behind a mask for sure. You didn't get a lot of his inner dialogue like you do in the comics.
So you take this character that we know as Darth Vader, and then you explore his upbringing in the prequel trilogy,
right?
And then right here in this 50-issue run, like focusing on him, you really just get to see a lot of the inner turmoil, and you get to see his struggle against the Emperor and like how like bad you feel for him in his struggle to like be in control, but also realize that no matter like how hard he strives, he's still under his thumb.
Yeah.
So absolutely. That's a little bit deeper, but it just it goes so deep in so many different aspects of Star Wars in this show.
It reminds me.
This comics.
It reminds me of what Yoda says about the dark side, like. For as long as you go down the path of the dark side forever, it will dominate you. Like that's what happened with Vader. Yeah. It's like until he finally overthrew the Emperor, he was dominated by him and the dark side. You know? So I feel like to me, Palpatine has always been very emblematic of the dark side itself, not so much like a character, but rather the embodiment. When you think about the Sith, and especially like the Sith, the Master, and there's even some talk about the way that like in the Plagueis book, I feel like, and maybe some other spots, like when the apprentice becomes the Master, all of the Sith then live in them. So in that way, to me, it always feels like they kind of cease being a character, and they are the dark side. They are Sauron from Lord of the Rings, like, darkness personified. And so it's an interesting thing you bring up, and it just reminds me of that. We should mention Charles Soule is who wrote the Star Wars one. Greg Pak. I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his last name, but he did this latest Darth Vader run. Both were handled great, man. Let's talk a little bit about some of the your favorite events in series and things. I gotta say that for me, I loved the War of the Bounty Hunters arc. I thought particularly, although I enjoyed the whole thing, particularly the War of the Bounty Hunters, when it was like everybody going after Han Solo in Carbonite. That to me was such a brilliant idea, as well as like, it was so exciting to think about, like, it didn't just go straight from here to here. Like, there's all this other stuff. And that's the part of Star Wars comics I love. Is like, I could totally see that being a thing. And it makes it so much more exciting when I see Han Solo in the slab, on the wall, in Jabba's palace, in Return of the Jedi. It did that for me. So what about you? What were some of the arcs or maybe events that were your favorite out of either the Star Wars run or the Vader run?
Yeah, so let's see. Let's list them all out real quick. We got War of the Bounty Hunters, Crimson Reign,
which went into Hidden Empire,
Dark Droids.
Those are the big crossover events, I think.
That's really all of them. Yeah,
that's them. And then, of course, there were different arcs. I really like the recent, I don't know if it's because Charles Soule is a lawyer. I don't know if I just really
the trial of Lando Calrissian.
The trial of Lando Calrissian. 2 thumbs up to Charles Soule on that. I really enjoyed that run. In the Vader stuff, I liked a lot of this Imperial Schism thing.
Yeah, me too.
Where they were trying to overthrow the Emperor. I think that's a really cool little plot twist thing that was happening.
Yeah.
Again, like, some of the stories over time started to feel a bit drawn out.
Yeah.
Simply because, we have the knowledge that it's like, this is 1 year?
Yeah.
And all this happened? Like, you think about like Kira almost overrunning, like, or overthrowing the Sith. You think about like dark droids taking over every droid in the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's like all that happened.
And one-
but,
yeah.
you know, I get it. It's comic books also.
Luke and them getting stranded and what was it, no space?
No space, the Nihil thing, which I did like a lot of the Nihil stuff. And you mentioned the tie-in to the sequel trilogy with Ben Solo, which that did remind me of another Charles Soule run, The Rise of Kylo Ren, and there were all those like flashbacks with Luke hanging out with Ben, getting ready with Lord Zantekka to go discover all these different places, and we did get a Lord Zantekka cameo in issue 50. When Luke was in that trippy, or maybe it was issue
in the
49.
fungus planet.
He was in the fungus planet. Like Luke Skywalker was basically
Yeah.
on a psychedelic trip, essentially. I thought that was really cool, and I liked that he met Lord Zantekka there,
Yeah.
although they hadn't met in person yet. I thought that was interesting to show that Lore had been there too, because he's an archaeologist who's out trying to discover all these different things regarding the Force. So I don't know, man. There was just a lot of cool stuff in this last issue, and I do have to say, out of all of the characters, you mentioned like a lot of like character development. I really like what Charles did with Luke Skywalker, because when you see him in Empire, he's still, towards the end of that movie, he's in Dagobah. He's still a whiny kid. But when you see him in Return of the Jedi, he's like
Collected,
a bit more stoic,
mature.
a bit more, And so I feel like that was painted pretty well by Charles. So kudos again.
There's a lot of dialogue and monologue of Luke finding his place in the galaxy, like developing, and I mean one scene in particular is there was an issue where he started to go after Vader.
Yeah.
And he basically chickened out because he was like, I'm not strong enough.
Right.
And he let down Leia because I can't remember if Leia was trying to encourage him to go face Vader or if she was trying to discourage him from I can't remember what it was, but I remember Leia being disappointed in his decision because he basically abandoned everybody. He was like, I can't do this yet. I'm not ready to face him. But I'll say my favorite arc or tie-in or whatever. Yeah, War of the Bounty Hunters is obviously really, really good. I think Dark Droids might have been up there for me.
Yeah, I remember you being really hype about Dark Droids. You really enjoyed it.
It was shockingly dark.
Yeah, it was kind of...
It was like very horror-y.
Yeah.
It was really gruesome. The way that these droids were experimenting on humans, trying to figure out how to blend flesh with metal.
Right.
They were essentially trying to, they had succeeded in taking over a lot of the Empire and a lot of the galaxy. Their struggle was to figure out how to infuse the Force in with this one-minded. So anyway, that was their attempt. And it was just, I don't know, it was just really gruesome. I found myself like, a lot of times I read these comics and I read the dialogue and I kind of fly through the art. There were a lot of scenes in Dark Droids that I was like stopping and looking in the background like, whoa, that looks awful. Just the way that they like, it'd be a human head on a droid body. And like, I just liked how creepy that one was.
Yeah.
Crimson Reign was great. I loved getting to see so much of Kira. And just the way that she operated as like a crime syndicate boss that was essentially like untouchable. She was 3 steps ahead of everybody the whole time.
And her interacting with Leia was also very interesting. Because it's like, Han and who he ends up with in the end, and it's a very interesting way of seeing them interact.
Yeah, and then the common theme throughout Vader like trying to overthrow the Emperor, which, as you mentioned, like at times it felt like some of this stuff was being overdone a little bit or like repeated. I will say in Vader, I like that they repeated that theme so many times because it really just like you would get kind of exhausted as a reader, just like, okay, what's he do? Like, here he goes again. Here's Vader like trying to overthrow the Emperor, and then he fails, and the Emperor's like, I knew this would happen in the beginning. Like, you played right into my hand, and then Vader like submits again, and then it was exhausting to read it over and over again. But I think I feel like it was intentional in the way that it just really showed how like desperate he was.
Absolutely. I'm in agreement with what you're saying. It does show like a certain level of just like Vader sort of being at his wit's end of having to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's like the final straw was like, not my kid, bro.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I will say this, in regards to certain things being a bit overboard, if you're thinking about it with too much of a story kind of mind, it also, we should bear to mention, it is comic books. Like comic books are, I know, but just like to the average listener who maybe doesn't read a lot of comics, it's comic books. Like comic books get a little absurd sometimes. It's kind of part of the point. And so on one hand, in Star Wars, you feel like, at least I'll speak for me, I feel like there are certain almost like rules or certain things like that wouldn't happen in Star Wars, but it's like, but would it happen in a Star Wars comic? And it's like, oh, okay, fine, you got me, some of my favorite stuff has been very comic booky. Like I feel like a lot of the bounty hunter stuff is just ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And that's
or I mean, like some of the unbelievable attacks that Vader withstood, or like characters like Ochi, like or
Cameron's favorite.
Yeah. Valence.
Yeah.
Bosk, Dengar. Some of the stuff that happened to them, it's like, this is beyond like reality. Right. Come on. But
it is, Star Wars comics, I guess. They're kind of wild. So, real quick before we start about the new stuff that's coming, because this is the conclusion, and me and Cameron are always say there's nothing new here. We're always suggesting hop into the comics; they're fun. This is a good time to do it with all the issue ones that are going to be coming out. Mm-hmm. But you can read it all, and I'll tell you how. It's very simple. So, if you have Marvel Unlimited, which you can put on you could put it on your phone. I'd probably try to get at least an iPad going. But Marvel Unlimited, it's like $10 a month.
Yeah.
And you get everything. Mm-hmm. It might be 3, 4, maybe even as much as 6 months behind what's on stands necessarily, but still there's so much to read.
Yeah.
And if you're like, you know what? Let me try Star Wars. Like I read a lot of comics now, but I did not start that way. I actually started with Star Wars comics back in 2015. Yeah. And I grew to really enjoy comics, and now I read Marvel and indie books and all this stuff. And I would just say that if you've never tried, or you just thought, well, I don't know where to jump in, spend $10, get a Marvel Unlimited subscription, throw it on the old iPad. Go to Star Wars 1 in 2015, written by Jason Aaron, who is killing the TMNT run right now. And just start there. You can start right there. You can look up a reading guide if you want to bounce back and forth between that, Vader, Afra, etc.
Which I would highly recommend,
for sure.
Especially once you get to the War of the Bounty Hunters.
Well, see, I'm even talking about the earlier run.
Well, yeah, that too.
But keep going.
Well, I was just going to say, once you get to the War of the Bounty Hunter stuff, it gets real dicey which order to read them in. Yeah, it's like Afra 7, then Star Wars 8, then Afra 8, then Bounty Hunter 7. It's like,
I will say this though, if you're hearing what Cameron's saying and you're like, nope, my anxiety is not going to handle that.
Don't let that deter you.
Don't let it deter you, because you can, and you really can just read one run. If you just want to read just the main Star Wars book, you're good. If you just want to read Vader, you're good.
Yep.
There's plenty of little mini series of 2 to 5 issues, and there's plenty of long runs that you can sink weeks and months into reading.
Yeah.
So you can always pull it up on Marvel Unlimited for $10 and just give it a go. Now, I'm gonna say that to say this. I love very little more than going into my local comic shop, which for us here in Florence, South Carolina, is one of the greatest shops ever, Galactic Comics.
Yep.
Shout out Dale. Shout out Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's so cool to just go in there and get my books and then come home and hold them in my hand. And I know you can relate.
I love it.
And just start flipping through. It's just so fun. Yeah. And I can understand why you wouldn't want to just jump in at Star Wars 50, because same. But there's a bunch of new stuff coming out. So let's talk about the new stuff.
Yeah, I will say one other thing, and I'll just speak from personal experience. Tyler's who got me into Star Wars comics in general. A couple of years ago, I told him, comics have always seemed really cool to me, but it's hard for me to keep up. I'm real OCD. I want to get I don't want to miss anything. And you were like, oh well, comic book stores do something called a pull, right? And I was like, huh, what's that? So for those who don't know, you can go into your local comic book store and tell them, hey, I want all of the Star Wars stuff that comes out, or whatever comics you want, and they will get them for you. You go in once a week, once a month, whenever, and you say, hey, here's my pull number. Show me what books I got.
Yep.
And that took all the pressure off of me because I don't want to have to keep up on a weekly basis collecting $4 9 different $4 issues every week. I want somebody who knows and is ordering all that stuff to take care of it. So if you're trying to jump in, we're going to go through some of the number one issues now, but go to your local store, find your local store, and walk in and tell them, hey, give me a pull started, and your books will just show up when they come out, and you don't even have to think about it.
Yep, and there's generally, with the adaptions and the High Republic stuff, and there's also some Dark Horse comics, there's usually about somewhere between 8 and 10 Star Wars comics going on at a time.
Yeah.
And they're usually delivered monthly. So that means you'll get about 8 to 10 comics a month if you're reading everything. So we're talking 1 to 2, sometimes 3 books in a given week. So it's not too bad in terms of your budget. It's somewhere, if you're just reading 2 or 3 titles, you're talking like $5, $10, $15 a month. It's not bad. It's not that bad. So there's not really any reason to not jump in unless you're just not interested. I'll say it like that.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty cool and pretty fun and pretty easy. So we've got a few things happening right now. Ahsoka is ongoing. I'm not reading the adaptions. I've talked about that enough.
Yeah.
I just it's just not for me. There's also a great dude. Real fast before we start with these ones. Sorry everybody, but this is important. I am loving Star Wars Inquisitors.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, where did that come from?
I know.
And that guy, the writer, Rodney Barnes, was the guy who's been doing all the Mandalorian adaptions.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, hey, this guy's doing a great job because he always fits the entire episode in just the right amount of pages.
Yeah.
And I always feel like he gets all the dialogue and all the action.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done a great job with the Mando books. I just got to a point where A, I wasn't really feeling the art that much, and B, it was just like, how many times am I going to... I've already seen this like 100 times. Why am I reading the comic book?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, Rodney Barnes on this Star Wars Inquisitor run, chef kiss. Killing it, man. This Tensu Run character, the premise essentially is that this Jedi who's escaped Order 66 named Tensu Run is out in the galaxy just doing like all this heroic, like pretty ballsy stuff. And the Inquisitors are after him and they just can't get him.
Nope.
And they've got Vader's involved, but it's done in a really like tasteful way.
Yeah.
Like it's more like, it's less that Vader is going after this dude himself and more like Vader's like, yo, Inquisitors, you better get this guy. Mm-hmm. It's just so good the way it's being done. So
and he's just like knocking out Inquisitors just left and right.
Yeah. It's so well done. So I just want to shout that out. There's only
1 issue left.
Maybe there's only 1 left, 1 or 2 left, but there's only been like 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you could probably find it at your local. If not, you can definitely pop online and grab all those, but it's been really good. I just have to shout that out.
Yeah.
And you can that's a mini series. You can just jump right in having read nothing and you would still be able to enjoy the story. So I had to shout that out. Let's start off with the one that I'm probably least excited about. There's a Ewoks comic coming out. And, I love Return of the Jedi and I think Ewoks are cool, but I don't know that I'm ready to read a whole series about Ewoks.
Yeah, they did that. They did that one-off Ewok book a couple of months ago. I couldn't stand it. I mean, because the story was all in the pictures. There was no dialogue at all because obviously it's Ewok. So it's just these little like talk bubbles of them just was it just dots
I don't remember
or
what it was, but
I don't know. It was just
wasn't my
not
thing.
really. Yeah.
It's written by Steve Orlando. I've got the writers and sort of the pitch on each of these. So celebrating the 40th anniversary of Caravan of Courage.
What?
It's an old Caravan of Courage was like an old Ewok movie or something. I don't know. It's not my thing. The Ewoks return in an all-new miniseries set after the events of Return of the Jedi. A team of Imperial-led bounty hunters and scavengers arrive on the forest moon of Endor, searching for a secret cache of Imperial weaponry. Are they prepared to face off against the battle-ready Ewoks who took down so many of their rank? Who is the mysterious new warrior Ewok returning to the Bright Tree Village? And what is their connection to Wicket W. Warwick? I'll say this. It could be cool. Like, I like the idea of, like, what I'm picturing is, like, a Imperial remnant who's probably searching the remains of the Death Star for something. It could be cool if it's done right.
Yeah.
But if it's like Ewoks in every panel, I don't know if that would be for me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to read it, but
Yeah, I'll definitely get it and read it. I'll check and see if there's any cool covers, cool variant covers or anything I need to snag.
Yeah, they're going to get. This is the guy with all the connecting variants and stuff. This guy over here, he knows what he's doing.
We got 5 more Sprouse variants. They've been doing. They did 40th anniversary variants for Return of the Jedi, 50th for Lucasfilm, 25th anniversary covers for Phantom Menace.
Listen to this guy.
Yeah.
If they did an anniversary cover every year for all 9 movies, Cameron would still be getting them all. It would just be unreal. His whole house, every wall in his whole house would just be Sprouse variants.
Almost. I got 5 more for Phantom Menace, and then those are all going up on the wall too.
I'm excited and I can't wait to see it. So here's some news that I just found out the other day, and you may not know about this. Exclusive on starwarsnewsnet.com. It shouldn't just be starwarsnews.net. Never mind. All right. Exclusive. The Bad Batch stars in a new miniseries from Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, wow.
So, Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, The Bad Batch Ghost Agents will be a 5-issue miniseries written by Michael Morisi, who I have not read, but I guess he did the Hyperspace Stories little miniseries, which the Bad Batch did have their first appearance in, and I missed it, although maybe I should check. Maybe the price has gone down. So that's coming, and it looks like it's going to be January 15th. So it's not that far away. Here's the from Dark Horse. The clones of the Bad Batch have been through some intense missions throughout the Clone Wars, and it's said they have a 100% success rate. But this time, they may have met their match. In Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, The Bad Batch Ghost Agents, man, that's a long title. There are 3 colons in there.
Man.
Y'all got to tighten it up, Dark Horse! They are on a mission to hunt down the mysterious Separatist ghost agent who executed a daring heist on Coruscant. The Thieves Trail's lead hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, and Tech lives to the seediest corners of the galaxy, a place where kingpins and thugs threaten the clones' mission and their lives. I ain't gonna lie, that sounds kind of sick, bro.
So I had to pull my phone out because I'm gonna also use this episode as me making sure I've got everything in my
stuff
pool.
To his pool right now.
Well, because I don't particularly love the Dark Horse runs. I definitely did not enjoy Hyperspace Stories. So that's one that I need to know to add into my pool because I would like to see them cover Bad Batch just for the sake of it. But Hyperspace Stories, they felt very
they're just bouncing
kiddie.
around. Yeah, and they're not only are they seem to be aimed more towards kids, which the whole Dark Horse Star Wars kind of is. Although a lot of the stories in the High Republic Adventure subtitle have been really good, and particularly the stuff with I love Ty Yorick. She is an ex-Jedi turned monster hunter. It's just a really interesting. So there is cool stuff. I'm willing to give this a try. It sounds interesting. Just the synopsis of it is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, what are we talking about? We're talking about Star Wars and comics here. It's not for kids. It's for adults. It's for wise adults.
It's
to
for
collect.
wise adults. You're right. That's exactly
it's not
what
for
it is.
none of this stuff's for kids.
None of this stuff's for kids. All right, now. This is maybe where, if I guess you've made it 30 minutes in the podcast, so I guess you're here for the long. This is where you really want to be at for this whole, how should I get into Star Wars comics? Here it is. in October 2nd. That's 1 week from now. In fact, I'll make this promise to you, podcast listeners and YouTube watchers, and Cameron, my co-host here. I'll read this comic before we talk on the next pod. I'll make sure, I think it comes out the day that you and I are podding. I'll make sure I have it. I'll make sure I've read it. And I will make sure that I report on it.
Okay.
So, October 2nd, The Battle of Jakku, the first of the 3 miniseries, Insurgency Rising. All of these are being written by Alex Segura. All right. In the wake of the Battle of Endor, can Luke, Leia, and the nascent New Republic stave off an unexpected and deadly new threat? A defiant Imperial takes center stage and goes on the offensive against the New Republic. Leia makes a startling discovery in the Forest of Endor. Who are the mysterious and deadly acolytes of the Beyond? Oh, so some sequel tie-in. What is the new villain's connection to Darth Vader? All this as the post-Return of the Jedi storytelling begins.
Nice.
Interesting.
That sounds really exciting.
So, that's going to be a number 1. And this is in a brand new era of Star Wars that we have not explored. This is after Return of the Jedi. It's before The Mandalorian. This is brand new space. And I know that is one of your favorite things, Cameron.
Yeah. This would be a great place to jump in, I think. I'm excited to get new characters. Obviously, the past couple of years with the series that we've done, I've enjoyed learning all the new ones.
Yeah.
But I'm at my max. I'm like, all right, let's clear the slate.
Yep.
Let's start with something fresh.
We're getting it, man.
So we got all this stuff in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, and now we're gonna go after Return.
And I do think that Dr. Aphra is going to be around during this time.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
That'd be nice.
Especially if it's the Battle of Jakku, you got to imagine that there's some scavenging that's going to be happening or some archaeological, So anyways.
Because we've been without Aphra for a couple months now.
Yeah, it feels like it's been at least probably close to 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'm missing Aphra, and I'm ready to see what she's up to. For those who don't know, Dr. Aphra is kind of like almost like the female Indiana Jones of the Star Wars universe.
100%.
Very much like that. It's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Her personality embodies like Han Solo, Harrison Ford. Anyways.
Yeah, it's her own special brand, and you just gotta love her. I mean, I'm a big Aphra fan. I definitely got. It's on here. It's in there. Definitely got her first appearance ready for her to pop off on Disney Plus. I'm a big fan. I just want to see her in general, not because I'm going to sell her first appearance. All right. Right after that, and I don't quite understand how these are going to run because they must be, I don't know, man. They must just be different sections of the battle because there's like 4 issues in each of these, if I'm not mistaken. And the first bit comes out October 2nd. The next series comes out November 20th, only, 6 weeks later. So I don't quite understand how that's working. But anyways, it's called Republic Under Siege. Again, written by Alex Segura. Marvel has this to say. Still reeling from the events of Insurgency Rises. There we go. Can we edit that out? No? Okay. Luke must seek out a relic that could hide clues to the future of the Jedi Order. Luke Skywalker and a new friend find themselves cornered. Can 2 Imperial powerhouses find common ground against the nascent Republic? Why do they keep saying that like that?
Well, yeah.
Where are Han and Chewie? I don't know. I guess they're missing. The heroes find themselves saved in the nick of time by a fan favorite guest star and ally. Aphra?
Maybe.
Or Baylor Valance. That would be sick.
That would be cool. Well, not
sick.
ally, though. Fan favorite, definitely, but not ally.
Remember, him and Han go back.
That's
they
true.
go back to the Imperial. Like, he was involved in trying to rescue
or the Navy,
Han.
yeah.
Because Han saved Baylor's life back in the day. So, yeah.
That'd be great.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I would love
pulling
to see
a little
that.
bounty hunters energy. Yeah.
Bro, if that happens, I'm going to be really stoked.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a great job with these write-ups because even the last one talking about a new Imperial enemy and like
it's like, who's that?
A fan favorite ally. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, who are these people? So, all right, and then if that's again, that's what 6 weeks later, 2 months after that, street date December 25th. I don't think that Dale is going to be up at Galactic on Christmas, but we'll see. Last Stand is the final of the miniseries under the Battle of Jakku sort of
Nice.
banner, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Description: a dark force strikes at the heart of the just formed New Republic and serves as a reminder that the galaxy is far from a safe place. It says Chandrila under attack.
Oh, wow.
The rise of a familiar villain driven to the edge of sanity. Lando Calrissian and a ragtag team of pilots are attacked by an unexpected fleet. The return of Han Solo? Question mark.
Nice.
So cool, man.
That sounds
I mean,
awesome.
they all sound really interesting.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if you, I don't know how to say it. It's like, this is the time. This is your sign. If you've been like, man, I hear Tyler and Cameron talk about the comics all the time, and I'm kind of interested, but I definitely don't want to have to go back and read 50, blah, blah, blah. Jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you heard the first part of this pod and you're like, I've already got you convinced me, I'm already logged into Marvel Unlimited, I can't wait to start reading. You can read those and you can read these. It's, that's kind of the thing about comics is there's always this era happening at the same time as this era, and they're all just stories that you can enjoy. So jump in no matter what, just go to your local, tell them what books you want, and come join the party.
Yeah. And honestly, Patreon, if you want to jump into the Patreon and talk about it, we'd be happy to guide you a little bit on where to start and where to order, which order to read in.
Yeah, we are more than happy to talk comics in the Discord there in the Patreon.
Yeah.
So just so you know, if you're interested in checking it out, $3 get you in the door, get you access to everything. We've got some bonus episodes coming out that are basically me sitting down and going through Clone Wars and arcs. I'd say we're about probably close to 15 bonus episodes in, so it's building up. I'm adding 2 or 3 a week, so it's getting there, and we'll get Cameron in on some bonus stuff here soon. But either way, I think it's pretty fun. You can kind of, if you want to time it and watch Clone Wars right along with me, you can do that, or you can just listen to the episode. I pipe the audio in, so it's almost like it's almost an audio drama type thing. I don't know. It's fun. and I'm just kind of having a good time. It's a little bit more relaxed than this because I'm like, I don't know why. I'm just a little bit more relaxed, just chilling, hanging.
Yeah.
It's bonus, so I figure even if I mess up,
little laid
who
back.
cares? It's all good.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. And then of course you get the Discord where access to the Discord where we can come and chat. We're just having a good time talking Star Wars anytime you want to talk. So
that's what I meant.
Yep.
Not in the Patreon. We're chatting in the Discord.
We are chatting in the Discord, but it's available through the Patreon.
Through the Patreon,
so you were right on. All right, so all that said, comics happening, all good.
Please
great.
join.
Come
join
the
with
party,
the comics.
Have a good time. It's so much fun. Let's talk Star Wars news.
I got something first too. I got a bit of news.
Oh,
it's like a
Cameron's
smaller.
got
This is
some
like kind of a smaller piece of news.
Oh.
Yeah, kick your legs.
All right,
kick your feet up.
Hold on, everybody. I'm gonna take a break here for a sec.
It's a quick one, but
all right.
We got a. They have officially revealed the next Ultimate Collector's Series Lego set.
Okay, what we getting, Cameron?
A $500 Jabba's sail barge.
Yes, I can't wait to blow a car payment on some Legos.
I will not be picking this one up.
Yeah, that's not going to start my Lego journey.
We're talking about
starting comics, but
it's got a cool interior to it. You can fold down one of the sides and like look at it, but it's not in scale. It's got a great minifigure selection though. They got a giant Jabba.
Okay.
That comes in it. Salacious B. Crumb is like a little minifigure.
Oh, Salacious.
Yeah. Max Rebo. That's a big one. I think Max Rebo ever only came in one Lego set.
Yeah,
it's like $100 a piece.
I think I saw it. There's no minifig for Luke.
That's true. So
Why?
they have another set out right now, the Sarlacc Pit, $80. It's got Luke, Han, or it doesn't have Han in it. I think it does have Han. Luke, Han, Lando in his guard uniform. Yep. You get a Weak Way guy and not a Gungan, a Grimorian guard.
Oh,
gosh, but yeah, it's cool. Oh, the other thing, they years ago Lego had a Jabba sail barge set that came out with a very controversial Princess Leia dressed up in her slave attire. And this set's been rumored for a while, and everybody thought, no way they'll bring back Slave Leia. No way.
And they
Sure enough.
really.
And it's a great looking minifigure. I mean, the prints are all really good. It's got a really nice hairpiece. So
I'm surprised that they did that, to be honest.
yeah, same.
I'm really surprised.
So no, I will not be picking it up. I think it's a lot of people in the community are going back and forth a lot about whether or not it is actually worth $500. The minifigure selection is great, but
500.
that ain't gonna be it. Yeah, and that Sarlacc pig set is like $80, which is much overpriced. So I'm kind of waiting to see that come down because I want that minifigure of Lando in his little guard disguise.
I love it.
Anyway.
Yeah. I think that sounds like more of what I'd be interested in if it was me.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some Star Wars news. This one I just saw today. There are the main section of our news recap are 3 rumors, all kind of from the same tipster who has a history of. He's not always wrong. I'll just say it like that. Because some of these folks are, and this guy's a little bit more, I guess. What's the word I'm looking for? Not credible is probably it. Yeah, credible.
Yeah.
But I did just see this today, and because it relates to some stuff that we've talked about on the pod before, I'm just updating. Ubisoft admits Star Wars Outlaws underperformed.
Oh no.
I just heard the other day they were talking about Fallen Order, which we do have some Fallen Order news. That Fallen Order had sold like 4 billion, like 40 million copies or something wild between the 2 games, and so I mean that's pretty good. It says this, despite solid ratings and user scores across the first-party and Epic stores that reflect an immersive and authentic Star Wars universe, Star Wars Outlaws' initial sales proved softer than expected. They went on to say, in response to player feedback, Ubisoft's development teams are currently fully mobilized to swiftly implement a series of updates to polish and improve the player experience in order to engage a large audience during this holiday season to position Star Wars Outlaws as a strong, long-term performer. Now, I don't do stocks. And I think that by just saying, like, I don't do stocks, I think that kind of shows.
I don't stock.
I don't do stocks.
Yeah.
But if I was a company and I was trying to help increase the confidence of my stockholders, I would say position Star Wars Outlaws as a strong long-term performer. It sounds like marketing speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. IGN's own review of the game said Star Wars Outlaws is a fun intergalactic heist adventure with great exploration, but it's hindered by simple stealth, repetitive combat, and a few too many bugs at launch. I gotta say, yeah, it's fun. I like playing. It's tough for me to play more than a couple hours a week, which is, I don't like that, but like every time I sit down to play, just something ridiculous happens. It's so buggy. And it has really dampened my experience.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it just has. And I don't remember the last time I played a game that was so buggy that it made me not want to play the game.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't know. I don't play that many games.
Mm-hmm.
But, bro, it's been a bit of a hindrance.
Yeah.
Now, when I can get in and the game's playing good, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is fun. But, man, it's been tough. That's all I'm saying. So, them talking about how they're that they're working on it, great. And I promise, like I've said before, I will keep y'all updated. I'm not trying to hate on the game because it seems pretty cool. There's so much cool stuff about it, but it's just been a bit rough.
I will say that is encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Amid, the Battlefront blunder and how even Battlefront 2 just kind of got left in the dust where it was. It's encouraging to hear that Ubisoft is like, hey, we get it and we're working on it. Because it seems like I feel like Aspire in the past too has like just kind of turned their nose up at all the overwhelming complaints about bugs and stuff and just been like, well, you get what you get. Like, this is what we're doing for this. So it's good to know that they're going to like kind of dig in and work on it.
So our next bit of news, we're going to end on a high note here.
Okay.
Because admittedly, it's not like, it's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's good. Are you okay? Are you good? So it's not that bad. But what I would say is as a Star Wars fan, I like when I hear productions are going great. This thing is going to come out on time. Everyone's having an awesome time. Creators are saying that they're really feeling fulfilled and like, great. I love to hear all that. What I don't like to hear is like, yeah, this is delayed and it doesn't look too good.
Yeah.
So all of these 3 tips come from Daniel Reichman. He's Daniel RPK is like his handle on Patreon and all this stuff. And like I said, he seems pretty credible. He seems to get a lot of things right. There are a few people I read them, I roll my eyes. Whenever he says something, I'm kind of like, oh. So he is reporting that the new Jedi Order movie starring Daisy Ridley reportedly needs more work and is now on hold. It is not expected to start filming until 2025. And so, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously probably, I say obviously probably, it seems like it's still happening.
Yeah.
It just feels like maybe we're having some issues.
Yeah. I think I had read in another article that the writer or writers were still in the process of going back and forth with Kennedy about script changes.
Yeah. That's getting to a level of like conjecture that obviously we have no idea.
Yeah.
But I know that Stephen Knight, who did like a lot of work with like Peaky Blinders, he's like great writer, obviously. I've seen his work. He's fantastic. Apparently he's just on I don't know, 3rd, 4th draft from what I understand. At one point, Damon Lindelof, who was involved in Lost, obviously, but more recently, he did that Watchmen miniseries that was like,
oh yeah,
one of my favorite TV series of all time. And he was at one point involved in this, and now he's not. Sinead, I can never pronounce her full name. It's my bad, but she is tied to this film, and so I assume she still is. I really don't know. I would guess so. It's not Sinead. It's Charmin Obaid Chenoy. I think I'm probably mixed all those up into one name. So Charmin Obaid Chenoy. There we go. But I've seen Daisy Ridley also talking about the movie. Like she's like, hey, the story is great. Like, I haven't seen a script, but the story is great. And so, I mean, I like that. I'm glad there's a good story. It'll be nice whenever it's like we've got a script, everyone's loving it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've heard people say, oh, how can it be on hold or how can it be delayed when it was never confirmed when it was going to release? Look, I remember before Mando and Grogu was announced, they announced 3 movies. They announced the Rey movie. They announced the movie that's now Jedi Prime, which is the movie that the Andor writer and who am I forgetting? Not Damon Lindelof. I will come back to it. Is one of the creators of it, and it looks like it's going to be really good. The one that goes way back in time. That movie was supposed to be the second movie, and then there was supposed to be the Filoni Mandoverse movie. So at one time it was ordered, and then Mando and Grogu jumped the line. And so it was presumed that, the Rey movie was just pushing back to second, and now who knows?
Yeah.
So nobody knows is the point, I guess. I don't know.
I do think it'll still happen, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that, dude, I want to see what happens next with Rey.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm saying this is bad news to me. I'm not saying it's bad news because I don't like Disney or Lucasfilm or Kathleen Kennedy or the sequels. I really want to know what happens to Rey, and I like Stephen Knight, and I'm interested to see what Charmin's vision would be. I would like to see it, so hopefully it happens. I mean, I think it will.
I do too.
So the next bit of news, this one I guess we've probably talked about a little bit, maybe when we first started, but now I guess it's an official headline. Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie reportedly on hold indefinitely. There's not much here except for it just says that Daniel Reichman said that it is on, quote, indefinite hold.
Man.
I don't know. When were we expecting a Taika Waititi movie?
Yeah, I mean,
that one
we talked about that already.
Yeah.
That there was not. That he was even talking about how, oh yeah, I'll pick it up and work on it here and there. Like
he hadn't even written
like,
it.
It seemed like he was given. He was like told, yeah, you can have a Star Wars movie, and he's like, all right, I'll work on it whenever I get the time to. I guess.
Bro,
Yeah.
If someone was like, "Hey Tyler, you're gonna write a Star Wars movie.
You'd be like, I got 7. Yeah.
Here's my pad. Here's my pen. How
Yeah.
long has it been? 10 seconds. I'd be going,
Yep.
man." So yeah, I mean, I like Taika Waititi. I mean, I like a lot of his work. Going all the way back to like, I think he was involved in early like Flight of the Conchords stuff. Like, I like Taika Waititi a lot. But yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have a story to tell,
Yeah.
I get it. So maybe one day, but it does not seem like that time is now. Now, here's the good news.
Okay.
Got some good news that
All
I'm
right.
really excited about. I hope you haven't heard it because although I know that you haven't been a huge player of Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, but I know you know about them somewhat, right?
Yeah.
Have you played them at all?
I
or-
played Fallen Order.
the first one,
Yeah, a bit of it. Maybe I probably got a third of the way through it.
bro. You would like.
I know. I almost turned my Xbox on last night, actually.
I
but
think
ended
if
up
you
not.
dug back in, you would really enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
I
gotta
do.
get you
No,
to play
I
Jedi
never,
Fallen Order.
I never thought I wouldn't enjoy it. It just,
Right,
it goes
right.
back to my whole thing. It's like, I forgot how the controls work
Yeah,
and da
yeah.
da da. It's like,
X
I'm full
probably
of
jumps and
excuses.
squares probably the lightsaber and don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I guess he can use the Force. I don't know. I'm just killing everybody. with
I'll
lightsabers.
just kill everybody with lightsaber. Yeah.
So it's a great game, and you keep in mind you can also put it on like the easiest mode and
Yeah.
just like dominate.
yeah.
So that's always an option too. It's been announced recently that the third one is in development, that it will be the final one. It was always pitched as a trilogy, so to me that's not really news. But yeah, they're working on a third game. I'm a little iffy about it just because I know that the original game designer who did the first couple is no longer a part of the team.
Oh
So
yeah.
that kind of makes me go, oh man, because
What if it's a flop?
it's you know I trust that there are more people that were involved in the games that can help see it through, but you know it's always difficult whenever there's a creative that like has vision for something. When it's time to replace that person, it's not always that the replacement also has a good vision for it.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that's a lot of times the issue when people take over projects that are already ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some examples where it works great, like Ron Howard in Solo. I feel like he did a great job with Solo.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not impossible. I don't want to make it seem that way. It just is a little bit of a cause for concern, I guess. That said, here's the headline, also coming from Daniel Reichman. Cal Kestis, rumored to be making his live-action Star Wars debut on Disney+.
Nice.
I think that would be sick.
I think it would be a tragedy to not get that. As much as the voice actor looks like freaking Cal Kestis.
It's him. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen Cameron Monaghan play. So I used to watch him on Shameless back in the day. So that was probably 2008, 2009. Dude must have been like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
I've been watching this guy for a decade plus. That's it. That picture right there is him. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and so yeah, it's exactly like him. I would love to see it. I really do. I would love to. So here's what it says. It says a new rumor from industry insider Daniel RPK claims that Star Wars Jedi protagonist Cal Kestis will be making his live action debut in a project soon. It says the scooper claimed that he couldn't share much other than the character's live action debut would be on Disney+. This likely means Cal Kestis will appear in either a yet to be revealed Star Wars series or perhaps an already existing series set between the events of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope. Star Wars Jedi games follow the adventures of Cal Kestis, one of the surviving Jedi currently being hunted by the Galactic Empire. So there's kind of your pitch. Play the games, but yeah, how does all that catch you? And then I want to do a little speculating as we close out.
Yeah, I don't know how they would. I'm trying to think of what show they would fit
All
that
right,
in.
let's just go ahead and
Yeah.
Always emotion is the future. Meditate on this. I will.
Cameron, sir,
Yes.
let's hear what you got to say as I meditate over here.
I don't know. All right, here's what I'll say. I don't think they will give Cal Kestis his own show.
No, I agree with that.
I find it hard to believe that they would do a straight to Disney Plus movie for him.
I also agree.
So
that's
that
not
leads me
happening.
to believe that he is going to show up in something else. I just have no clue what. I don't know if they're going to do a Tales of the Jedi type thing.
They said live action.
Give him. Oh yeah, right. Well, or just a Tales of the Jedi-esque show.
I don't think so.
What are you thinking?
I got two thoughts. I'll say the second one that came to me, which I would be less excited about. Here's what's coming. Andor's coming. I mean, actually,
Kinda.
as I talked about, I said that I had two thoughts. Well, now I got three because Andor is set in the years leading up to A New Hope.
Right. So technically,
I would say that Andor 4 years before A New Hope, which is where the show will start when it comes back for season 2. That's not that far off from where these Jedi games are happening.
no.
I'm not going to lie. If Cal Kestis showed up in Andor season 2 in that dark, gritty tone, that would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. Absolutely. I just thought of that, though.
Yeah.
That's not even what I was thinking.
Okay. What were your
Well,
two?
what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that seems plausible. We don't have any other rumors of any other shows that would be tucked kind of in that era.
So let's go out of that era.
And Andor's kind of an outlier of a show, anyways. So like that could be something where like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's just throw Cal Kestis in.
Yeah, something about the what's the word I'm looking for? Just the somewhat darker, grittier tone of the Jedi series as games feels more in line with Andor than almost any other show.
Definitely, yeah.
So now that I say it out loud, I'm like, man,
It's got to be
that'd
it.
a good idea.
Yeah.
I would be honestly. I love Andor. We've talked about it. We did go back early in the show. Our show, I mean, we're at episode 60 now. What it was probably somewhere around the 20 episode mark. We were watching Andor season 1 and doing the arcs each episode, and we loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I would say that I enjoyed the least about Andor is the lack of Star Wars-ness.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's the tone of the show, and it's great. I wouldn't change a thing. But that said, if you brought a cameo like Cal Kestis from the video games into Andor, I would be like, the Star Wars fan in me would be freaking out and excited.
Yeah.
But I also think it could fit the tone and be a very interesting part of the show. And so the only thing that I could think that maybe would be a little off about it is I don't know that, and I would bet not, I don't think Andor has had any interaction with Jedi.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of, because I'm trying to compare it to how he was in Rogue One and with Jyn Erso and everything. It's like, even at that point, he was still very wary of rebellion and Jedi or anything other than him like fending for himself. So I don't know if I see that being a very cordial like encounter, but who knows?
It's possible. So the second idea I had, that was actually the second idea I had, was Ahsoka. I'm saying, like, yeah, what if we left the time frame that the games are in and we aged him up 15 years or whatever it would be?
Yeah.
Maybe it's only 10. I think he could pull it off. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, but I mean, it could be interesting to have like a Ezra and a Cal Kestis thing.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Those are very similar vibes as characters. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll say that could happen. What I think is most likely is what is also the hardest to speculate about. And I mean, well, let's pause. Here's another idea. Skeleton Crew. Set in the same time as Ahsoka season 2 is going to be.
Yeah.
It's possible.
So another real aged up Cal Kestis.
Another aged up Cal Kestis. I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I just don't know. I'm not suggesting that I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm just going through the order of the
like
shows
what we
that
have
are
coming and how we could fit him in.
Yeah, it's Skeleton Crew, and Andor season 2 and Ahsoka season 2.
Yep.
Which isn't going to come until 2026. So if he's going to make it soon, meaning before 2027, you would think it's in one of those shows.
It's got to be, yeah.
Unless there's another show
They just haven't.
that hasn't been announced. And that's what I think is actually the most likely thing.
Huh.
I think, and there's no Daniel Reitman rumor for this. I think we're going to get a season 2 of Obi-Wan. There's been a lot of Obi-Wan talk lately. He just got his star in Hollywood, and Hayden Christensen was there, and they talked about, I'd love to do it again, and he's just always. It's just been you kind of notice it as if you're in the Star Wars news looking at things. You kind of notice this thing happening with certain topics, and the Obi-Wan chatter has just been hot lately. And so to me, I'm like, well, that's what I would do if I was Disney and I was going to put a Obi-Wan show on Disney Plus. I would start to make the chatter get a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there. I've speculated before that if we had another Obi-Wan show, it would probably be this kind of like a hidden path thing. And I feel like while he's not directly dealing with it just yet, although actually maybe he is a little bit in the second game, but I feel like Cal is absolutely the kind of person that would be adjacent to that sort of thing. And I could see that being, Cal has run into Vader a couple of times. And so I could see Vader, and meaning Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan and Cal Kestis, everybody all kind of involved in this thing. I could see it, man.
I think that would be awesome.
I think that
I know that I've expressed before that I would like to see an Obi-Wan season 2.
Me too.
Just because I feel like they have learned a lot since then.
I agree.
And I think they could take that one as an opportunity to kind of right some wrongs. I feel like
absolutely. I'm in agreement with you. I still really enjoy the Kenobi series, and as I was thinking of this news today, I was thinking about Obi-Wan, obviously, because it's just what popped in my head.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, I'm due for an Obi-Wan rewatch. Like, I enjoy Obi-Wan. I get that it's not the best Star Wars ever, and I get that there are some gripes you can have, but there's some great moments, and overall, I really enjoy a lot of what the story does. I mean, you kind of see Obi-Wan go on his hero's journey, and it's fun, and there's a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that's like, huh? Like, yeah, it's both for sure.
Yeah.
But I would love to see another Obi-Wan Kenobi story. I already told you mine. I think it should be Darth Maul. But if you want to bring in Cal Kestis and Darth Vader and maybe throw in some, what's his name? Quinlan Voss. I'm down, bro. I think it would be fun.
Well, I mean, I will say with this year being the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith,
dude,
I could see them like kind of leaning a little bit heavily. I mean,
it's true.
We've got some like really solid Lego leaks that have already come out now about this coming year that have got me really excited. Prequel fans have always felt shorted a little bit with like Lego releases. They'd rather make a Luke's land speeder every year for 9 years in a row than remake an Arc 170 fighter or something. So we got some leaks that a Plo Koon starfighter is coming, an Arc 170. Some prequel love coming this coming year. So what better way to top it off than to announce an Obi-Wan season 2?
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down. I was just picturing this as I mentioned, like Quinlan Voss, Darth Vader, Cal Kestis, Obi-Wan. We know there are Inquisitors involved. Picture this. And as soon as I say it, you can take a couple different approaches. You can go, oh yeah, cool, fan theory, whatever, fan service, blah blah blah. What if it was done right? What if it was done right, and you had all these Jedi involved, you had Vader, you had the Inquisitors involved, and it was just a killer story.
Yeah,
that was shot well, scored well, acted well, all this, and you get to the final episode. And Duel of the Fates kicks in. and you've got Obi-Wan and Quinlan and Cal fighting with Inquisitors, and Vader hits the screen, and it's Duel of the Fates, and it's Vader, and it's all these Jedi and all these Inquisitors, lightsabers everywhere. It's cutting from person to person to person to person. It's dun 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 dun. Come on, it would be so sick.
I think that would be a perfect way to do a season 2 of that show.
Come on, make it big.
The big reveal in the first season was getting a battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. So why not just double down and give us something?
Down.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay that it's wild and crazy.
We won't mind.
It's okay. A New Hope, I just looked the other day. A New Hope is still a movie. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, well, it cheapens. Just don't watch it. It could be sick. So, like, why don't we just go all the way?
Yeah.
Why don't we turn it up to 10 and then, like, boost the master compressor and crank it again? Like, why don't we just do that?
It doesn't have to. Fun. I was talking to somebody about this past week about an album that came out from a band that we listened to that they didn't change the script. They took what people like about it and they were just like, here's more of that. And I think it's really refreshing in a world where everybody feels like they do have to be constantly evolving and constantly changing and striving for something new. It's like, it's okay to just like really lean into something that's already there that people like.
Yeah, especially if that's where your like creative vision is taking you.
Right.
Like, there's no reason to if that's what you want to make, there's no reason to rebel against that.
Right. Everything doesn't have to be an adverse reaction against the last thing.
Does not have to be. Absolutely.
Take something that we want to see.
I think of AC/DC, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, have you ever heard
consistent.
AC/DC play a song that had like a bunch of like dancey synthesizers for an album?
No, yeah, it's just it's riffs.
It's 2 guitars and a bass and drums and some high vocals, and they're just rocking.
Right,
and they're always playing fast and they're always playing dirty. Yeah.
I'm in this whole like don't challenge me right now thing,
dude.
After the Acolyte, it's like no, just give me something that's like fun to consume.
Yeah,
give me fun Star Wars. Turn it up to 11 with Obi-Wan and Vader,
dude.
Inquisitors.
I think you're right on time. The vibe that I'm sort of seeing happen in culture right now is just like make stuff fun. Like it seems like everybody's wanting to make fun stuff. So I think it's I think the people are craving it, and so I think you're going to start seeing it a lot.
Yeah.
So
I hope so.
I think you're going to be excited. I think the new Childish Gambino album's pretty fun. If you haven't listened to it,
I have not.
It's wild. Like the instrumentation's crazy. I think you would like it. Yeah. He's definitely doing some crazy fun stuff. So you'd probably like it. Get you ready for Lando.
Yeah.
He's trying to make that fun for us.
That's right. Man, I can't wait for that.
Me too, man. That's the news.
Yeah.
Cal Kestis supposedly coming. Supposedly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it would be cool.
I'd love to.
All right. Well, we got the rain going outside. I hope you guys have enjoyed the sort of the lo-fi rain atmosphere.
You think it's picking it up?
I hope so. I think it is, probably.
Might be cozy. You might be, if you're anything like me, you might be like, you might have fallen asleep 30 minutes ago and you're waking up because you're like, man, I'm just zoned in on this rain sounds and you're just asleep on your bed right now. And that's okay.
I hope the rain came through. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to take my microphone, stick it out there, and then I'm just going to copy it and paste it and just sample it all the way through the entire thing. No, I'm just kidding. If it came in, I hope you enjoy. We try to like capture us hanging out and
what
it's just
the vibe
like,
is in the moment.
We hit the windows open because it's raining. It's nice out, so I don't know. We just chilling, man.
That's right.
So thank you for chilling with us. It's been a really fun time. I love getting in here and talking about Star Wars. This was a fun thing to talk about. All the comics that we've been loving.
Go buy some comics.
Yes, go to your local shop. Hang out with cool people. Like I love going to our shop. I like to hang out there every week. It's just fun to go in.
Yeah.
Hey, did you catch the latest Rings of Power or whatever's on TV? And just like, I don't know, just go hang out with people. It's
fun, okay? I mean, the back corner of our comic book store is a giant Star Wars store, basically, with action figures, like hundreds of thousands of action figures from all different eras.
It's so ridiculous.
So, do I buy anything? Usually not, but I just skim through action figures the way that I did 10 years ago when I was a kid at Toys R Us.
How did we get a comic book shop here where they have a Star Wars room that is the size of most comic book shops?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what we did. The Force has just shined down upon us.
Yeah, that was
I
a
guess.
blessing right there.
So yeah, we're we have a good time, but I meet a lot of cool people as I travel and go to different comic shops. So I'm sure whoever's at your shop, whoever's at your shop's probably pretty cool. So go by, like Cameron said, go read some Star Wars comics and play some Star Wars games. Go play Outlaws. Make up your own mind, but I mean it's fun when it's not buggy. It's a lot of fun. I'm just having to get through that. But that and play the Jedi games, both Fallen Order as well as Survivor.
Yeah.
Controller works great. Not buggy at all. Go have fun. Yeah, I'm excited, man. So we'll keep our ears to the ground as far as who's out here making Star Wars and what sort of news is coming out. We'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
I Google Star Wars every day, so you don't have to. Cameron, do you still Google Star Wars every day?
Yeah, we go down the rabbit hole for everybody else. We're martyrs of sorts.
Yeah, that's how I think of it. Somehow my brain is okay with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So we appreciate y'all hanging out. Let's go ahead and land this ship. I don't fully know what we're going to talk about next week, except for Star Wars. I know we'll be talking about Star Wars.
Yep.
So, anything exciting that we should know about? Like, did you guys ever finish Return of the Jedi?
No, that's still on the list.
All right, so maybe that's what we'll
maybe
talk
a little
about.
update on Return of the Jedi. I mean, I just finished Star Wars and Vader 50, so I'm keyed up for it.
You're ready for? Oh, that's true. Dude, I forgot about that.
There you go. I know what you're doing this weekend.
Seems like the Force kind of moved you in a certain direction there.
That's true.
Had you hold off on Return of the Jedi until you got ready after.
It's like poetry.
It rhymes, apparently. I don't know. All right, well, whatever we're going to talk about, you're going to want to be here, so make sure you are. Until then, Tyler out.
Cameron out.
This party's over.